Groin protection in HEMA is an absolute must, but what should you buy and why? Well, let's find out. Hi, I'm Nick Thomas and welcome back to the Academy of Historical Fencing. So, groin protection. This is what happens when you get hit when you are wearing a box or groin guard.
Oh, you okay? Oh, good. Sorry. Was that groin?
So it can take the wind out of you, but you'll be on your feet in no time. But this is what happens when you get hit in the groin when you're not wearing groin protection. And also this one. So the reality is, whether your club actually actively targets lower target openings, or the groin specifically, or not, at some point you're going to take a hard groin shot. It's just the reality of it. You parry something, the wrong way, and the point just drives straight into your crotch. Cuts that were aimed for your arm, the distance is wrong and it hits the crotch. It happens, and apparently I'm told that it's not just men that suffer painful hits there. Apparently it's everybody getting hit in the groin is uncomfortable. So groin protection is actually recommended for everyone. And in actual fact, I've seen people go down with a lot of pain from groin shots from padded swords like the Go Now range. So yeah, I will fence with the padded swords without groin protection because it's not going too crazy. But generally speaking, for most HEMA training, you should have a box or groin guard. So what do I use and what do I recommend? Well, in actual fact, for many years, I just didn't actually wear groin protection. And that's because I found those that were on the market were so unbelievably uncomfortable that I was just willing to accept the risk and go without it. And I only ever suffered 2 painful groin shots in about 10 years of doing that. But that's not a good strategy, and ultimately a friend of mine took a groin shot that gave him internal bleeding in the testicle, and that's the point where you realise you should absolutely find a way to make groin protection work. Now that was a good long time ago, so I've been wearing it for a very long time now, but let that be a lesson to you. Wear groin protection. Don't go, oh, I forgot to put it on. Oh, I left it at home. No, you've always got it on you. Carry a spare if you need to. If you're sparring, you should be wearing groin protection. Now, personally, the one that I wore for many, many years was the Nutty Buddy, the Nutty Buddy Flex, which I found to be far better than most of the others on the market, because traditionally people just go and buy a cricket groin or cup or groin protector, or some kind of martial arts, MMA for example, something like that. And most of them I found pretty uncomfortable. The Nutty Buddy was marketed as, super comfortable and super durable, so I bought that. And it did me well, but ultimately I found this is just too long. I don't understand why that's got to go up and under you. That is just not ideal. It's just excessively long. But the flexible sides helps. This is the Flex model. And I found if you have a cup that is completely rigid all the way to the sides, it bites into you. And if you're trying to do certain actions where the legs cross together, certainly cross steps are awful. They're really uncomfortable. So if you have a box that has a little bit of flex to the sides, this can help an awful lot with both just general chafing, comfort, and maneuverability. So this one did me well for many, many years, and I wore this inside a sort of jockstrap type construction. There are different ways that you can wear a box. We'll talk about that in a bit. However, about 2 years ago, I moved on to using the Doctor Aircore hard cup. And to me, this has been an absolutely massive leap forward in groin protection, in terms of protection and comfort. Because ultimately, when we're talking about groin protection, there are those 2 core factors, aren't there? Is that you want the valuables protected, and you also want to be comfortable whilst doing it. And there's always this trade-off between protection versus comfort or speed or dexterity, maneuverability, all those things. And this is the one that I have found doesn't compromise me at all and offers excellent protection. And so you can see this one is actually sewn into the jock strap, and I bought that as a test to see if I would like it. Previously I'd always used the jock strap with an insertable cup, although I find 2 moving component parts mean that you can get a bit of movement around it, and if things are moving around, it's not always giving you enough protection, and you can feel a bit of irritation of the cup moving in the pocket. So I tried this sewn in one, and I've actually found this to be fantastic. Now the downside of a sewn in cup to jock strap is as it looks, it's all one piece. So you have to have it on before you're training. You can't, slip the cup into, your jock strap when you're ready to go. So when I get changed, ready to go to fencing, this goes on at the same time as my breeches, and it stays on from leaving the house to getting back. And I actually see that as a huge plus personally, because it means I never forget to put the cup in. And it is super comfortable enough that I can drive hours on end and train on hours on end with it never being an issue. And so if I go to an event like Fight Camp and I'm fencing for 3 days solid, I'm going to be wearing this from first thing in the morning until about 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So 3 days of wearing it. And I have done that with this one many, many times, and it's been absolutely comfortable and caused me no issues. Now, ultimately, we are all different shapes and sizes. And I don't just mean in terms of the size of the specific, small, medium, large cup, for example, but in terms of width, our body weight. There's so many different factors. And most of the people I know that have tried this absolutely love it. Although one of our members did mention that being a little bit larger, they found that the cup was a bit narrow and wasn't so comfortable, and so they actually preferred the Nutty Buddy. So it is a deeply personal thing. You probably need to experiment, but in my experience, the majority of people that try the Shock Doctor Aircore hard cup, and it has to be the soft cup is not suited for high contact stuff like we do in HEMA. The hard cup, Aircore Shock Doctor, they found it to be absolutely amazing. And I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. This is just something I found to be really, really good. And the urban camo is kind of hilarious. And it's marketed as being 30% lighter and 30% faster, which is kind of hilarious. Although in actual fact, it is really, really, really light. So when you pick up some like heavy gloves like the HFA Black Princes and you go, oh, these are half the weight of the Spez mittens everybody's been using, and it feels wonderful. Similar thing. So if kit can be lighter while still being safe, that's a really good thing for us, because we don't want to be laden down by really heavy equipment, because that's getting too far away from the unarmored fencing that we're generally doing. So the Shock Doctor Aircore hard cup, you can buy it as a separate cup to slip into your jock strap or compression shorts or whatever you'd like to use to fit your box on. You can get the sewn-in version like this, which I really do appreciate. And the box itself is basically, it's like semi-rigid, if you like, which is not a good term to talk about when we're talking about groins. But the fabric is basically hard enough that I've never suffered an injury wearing it, but it's flexible enough that it moves freely and comfortably and doesn't ever chafe or restrict my movement. So yeah, this one is absolutely for me. Now, as to whether you use a jock strap or compression shorts and stuff like that, it's a real personal thing. You're going to have to experiment and see with what you find is comfortable. But please don't just buy a separate cup like this and just slip it into your boxes. It's just nasty. You're going to get movements of the cup. You're going to get chafing. It's going to make it dirtier and nastier. Just please don't do that. Okay, so get a separate jock strap or compression shorts. And incidentally, don't then go commando and put your jock strap just over yourself with no underwear under it. I've seen people do that as well. Just don't do it. Okay, so put some sensible underwear on that is close fitting, because loose fitting underwear you'll get chafing again as well. So for example, reasonably longish boxes that are close fitting, whether they are, sports fabric or cotton, it doesn't really matter, that's personal. Make sure it's close fitting and put over a well-fitted jock strap like this, or use your separate compression shorts or whatever. So as a result, we found, the Shock Doctor Aircore hard cup to be absolutely excellent. The Nutty Buddy is pretty good as well. My personal experience is this one is just a lot better, but some people really get on with these. Other models that are really well liked among our members are these ones here, this other Shock Doctor model, and also this low blow.
That's a weird thing I didn't think I'd be doing this evening.
A lot of people also buy the Red Dragon groin protectors, and that's logical when you buy a kit from Red Dragon. You can buy it all as one. They're a pretty solid product. The protection is good, although comfort generally is very middling, if not great. And so the experiences in our club is that the Red Dragon cup it does the job, it's protective enough, but it's not the most comfortable, and there have been some issues with some stitching coming apart as well. So it's an okay product, but I think there are definitely better things around, which the users in our clubs really, really like. So that's all I have to say about your groin guards, is they are absolutely vital. There's some recommendations on models that we found to be really, really effective. What more is there to say? Well, don't forget to put them on. Don't be lazy and go, oh, I haven't put it on, I'll just go and spar anyway, it'll be fine. Put it on every time you spar, and clean it, please, like the rest of your HEMA equipment, whether it's hand wash only or whatever. Look at the instructions, but please, like the rest of your HEMA gear, keep it clean and decent. So typically a lot of people go and buy those just, very cheap sort of generic sports or martial arts cheap groin guards, I'd be a little bit wary of that because I have seen cups shatter and cause injury. So personally, I would stick with a reputable manufacturer that is reliable. And also, I would avoid cups that have too large ventilation holes. So this Nutty Buddy has tiny little ventilation holes, but some have really big gaps. And if you have big enough gaps that a tip of a HEMA sword could travel through, whether it's the actual, safety tip on the end, or if it breaks the rest of the blade, if it could go through one of those holes, then theoretically it could create a trap and put a lot of pressure on the fabric and go straight through. So I would avoid anything with too larger holes, too larger ventilation holes, and get either solid or very small ventilation holes. Also worth mentioning that some people like to wear their groin guards on the outside, particularly if they have the big padded ones. I've always thought that was a bit of a strange look. It's a little bit, Superman wearing his underpants on the outside. It looks a bit sus to me. But if it works for you, that's fine. But the huge consideration here is that you will increase the chances of being hit around the sides of the groin guard because you can get pushed aside and it can create traps. And we've seen it happen in our clubs more than once. Although I know some people wear sort of a close-fitting groin guard and wear those larger padded ones over the top, so they're kind of belt and braces job on it, doing sort of both sort of interior and exterior armor. If that's what you like doing, that's absolutely fine. But I would absolutely recommend against wearing just an external box. That's not a particularly good idea. I mean, it's better than not having a box, admittedly. So that's it, groin guards, absolutely vital. Please make sure you're always wearing them. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and remember we have channel memberships if you want to support us. I'll see you in another one.